Pocket Dungeon is a solo play board game where you are going to take turns to play both as the hero and the monster. You are deciding most of the outcomes by throwing d4 dice, and for each situation, your dice result will generate a specific action or outcome. The hero always starts first, followed by the monster's turn. In your hero's turn, you can do maximum 2 actions, and as one of the actions, you can move your hero depending on the hero's speed status. The dungeon is divided into 6 small 4x4 tiles areas, and as you can see here, this is the area number 1, number 2, number 3, 4, 5, and 6. And your hero can search for items, weapons, or map pieces in one of these areas. To do so, your hero needs to be inside the area you want to search and roll a 3d4 dice with the following outcomes. The first dice determines the object's y coordinate in the area. So if it rolls a 4, then the object will be in the 4th column from the left in the area. The second dice determines the object's x coordinate in the area. If you roll a 2 and then combine with the outcome from the previous roll, then the object will appear in the 2nd column and the 4th row in the area. The third dice determines your search attempt. If it rolled a 1, you found a monster poop. Increase the monster poop tracker, and as soon as it reaches 2, you need to immediately summon the boss monster randomly into the dungeon. If it rolled a 2, you found a small piece of torn map that is represented by the piece right here. If you manage to retrieve this torn map piece and collect all 3 of them, you can summon the exit door randomly onto the dungeon. If it rolled a 3, you found one of your missing items. Take one item piece from the dungeon tracker and place it onto the area based on the roll coordinate. If you rolled a 4, you found your lost weapon. Place your weapon piece into the area based on the rolled coordinates. To retrieve items of your weapon, move your hero and occupy the tile where the item or weapon is on. Retrieving it doesn't require additional action points. Place your retrieved item or weapon on the inventory slot. And now that you have your weapon back, you can start attacking the monsters. First, you can only attack a monster that stands in your hero's attack range. And to attack, roll 1d4 to determine the outcome. If you rolled a 1, your attack missed, no damage for the monster. If you rolled a 2 or 3, you dealt a glancing blow and the monster lost 1 HP. Lastly, if you rolled a 4, you dealt a critical hit and the monster lost 3 HPs. If the monster is dead, remove it from the dungeon and you retrieve a torn map piece. Can now put the torn map piece directly on the dungeon tracker. Since this is a solo gameplay, you also need to control the monsters. After you finish with the hero's turn, you now need to roll 2d4 dice for the monsters. First dice will determine the monster's behaviors. If you roll a 1, all monsters are coming toward you. If you roll a 2, the nearest monster is coming towards you. If you roll a 3, the furthest monster from you is now coming towards you. Lastly, if you rolled a 4, all monsters will stay put and you disregard the second dice. Now, the second dice will determine the monster's movement speed. Let's say that you rolled a 2 on the first dice. It means that the closest monsters will move. And then you rolled a 4 on your second dice. Then that monster will move 4 tiles towards you. So it's gonna be 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, this is the perfect time to talk about monster combat. Monsters can only attack if the hero stands within their attack range. At the end of the monster's turn, if the hero stands on the attack range of any monsters, the monsters get to attack the heroes. For instance, if the hero stands on that tile, the monster doesn't get to attack. However, if the hero is standing on this tile, now the hero is within the monster's attack range and it will attack. To determine the outcome of the monster attack, roll a 1d4 with these following outcomes. If you rolled a 1 or 2, you fail to dodge and take the full damage from the monster. If you can see right here on the monster tag at the bottom row, you can see each monster's might or the amount of damage it will deal. It means if you roll 1 or 2, the hero will take the full amount of the damage, in this case 1. Now if you roll a 3, it means that you manage to minimize the damage and the hero only lose 1 HP regardless of the attacking monster's might. It will be a different case, for instance, if this monster right here is attacking you. If you manage to roll a 3, then instead of 2 damage, you will still take 1. And lastly, if you roll 4, then you completely dodge the attack and remain unharmed. That's basically how you can move around the monsters and what to do during the monster's attack. All you need to do now is to take turns between your hero and the monsters and try to help the hero to escape from the dungeon by finding the exit door or slay all the monsters before getting killed by them first. There are also some special occurrences that will happen when you roll a specific series numbers using your dice. For instance, when you are trying to search an area and you rolled a 4 on all 3 dice, instead of following the normal outcome, you found instead a hidden exit door right next to your hero. Immediately place the exit door piece on any free space adjacent to your hero. And if you have action points left, you can just move the hero to the exit door and you manage to escape the dungeon. We talked about the best outcome of the area search attempt. Now let's talk about the worst one possible. If you rolled a 1 on all 3 dice, immediately summon the boss monster randomly into the dungeon. To summon the boss monster randomly, determine the Y coordinate using 3d4 dice and the X coordinate of the location using 2d4. So based on these rolls, the boss monster will be summoned on row number 8 and column number 5. As you can see here, because the space is occupied by a wall, place the boss monster in the next free space to the original coordinate, in which case it's right here. And don't forget to place the boss monster tag into the game as well. As you can see here, typically boss monster will have higher stats than normal monsters, and usually also more interesting attack range. Special occurrences can also happen during the monster turn. When you roll 2d4 to determine the monster movement and you get all 4 on both dice, monsters suddenly get distracted and they move 2 tiles away from you. However, if you somehow rolled a 1 on both dice, the monster suddenly got angrier and they all move 5 tiles towards you. Another thing to keep in mind is, while the monster is moving and your hero get into its attack range, the monster needs to stop moving and disregard the rest of the available movement. It means these 2 monsters now get to attack the hero. Let's start with the Minota first. It's a 3. It means that instead of 2, the hero takes only 1 damage. The hero HP is now at 1, and now this monster will attack. And the hero will take full damage. The HP is now depleted to 0, and the hero is defeated. Now let's take our time to look at each of the important pieces of the game. The first one is this dungeon tracker. It has 4 sections with different functions. This is where you can put your lost items in order, and when you found an item after searching the area, take the item following the order from this section. This one is the tracker for search area attempts. It will help you remember which area has been searched already, because you cannot search the same area twice. This section is to track the monster poop you get. It starts with 0 and goes to 2. And when it reaches 2, immediately summon the boss monster randomly in the dungeon. Lastly, this is the torn map tracker. Place any retrieved torn map piece here, and when you collect all 3, immediately place the exit door randomly in the dungeon. And just like the boss monster, you roll a 3d4 and 2d4 consecutively to randomly determine the location of the exit door. So that was the dungeon tracker. Now let's take a look at the hero tag. On the front side, it has the hero's name, the picture, and over here you see the hero's base HP and base speed point. And on the back, you will have the hero's attack range. The monster tag has the same structure. You got the name, the picture, its HP, and the spike on top signifies that it's the boss monster. And on the last row, you have the monster might instead of speed. Monster might determine how much damage it deals on successful attack. And on the back, you can see the attack range for each monster. Now let's take a look at the dice. They are basically a gem-shaped D4 dice, and each dice are numbered as you can see on the top right corner. This one is the first dice. And this is the second dice. And this is the third dice. This will help you to do a multiple dice roll like the search area attempt or during monster movement. So you can throw multiple dice at once and just read them in order to get the outcomes. Lastly, you can see at the bottom of the box, we have the HP and speed tracker for your hero. For instance, the hero managed to retrieve the water flask right here, and you put it in the inventory slot. And the hero takes another action to use it. This water flask will give you a +1 speed to your hero. You can now move the slider to track that your hero has 3 instead of 2 speed points from now on. Since this is a solo game, I'm sure there will be a lot of things that you are not sure of. For instance, which route should the monster take to go towards your hero? I would say there is not a really strict rule for that, but you can always throw a dice to help determine the outcome. 1 and 2 will give you disadvantage, 3 and 4 will give an outcome that is favorable to you. As an example, you manage to summon the exit door, and based on the rolled coordinate, you need to place the exit door right here. But because the space is already occupied, you need to choose between the 2 spaces next to it. This space right here gives you advantage because it's closer to your hero. And the other space right there is not good because it's much further and it's actually closer to the monsters. In this case, just roll a d4 and see whether you need to put it closer or further from your hero. So yeah, that's how you play Pocket Dungeon Abyss, aka solo play. I am by the way using the Green Maze expansion pack right here, as you can see from the monsters and the dungeon terrain. So please let me know what you think about this game and if you have any ideas to improve this. Thanks for watching guys, and consider subscribing to my channel if you like this kind of stuff. Have a great one and see you in the next video.